Happy Thursday, everybody. December 28th, 2023. Wow, almost into 2024. That's crazy. Okay, another Ask Me Anything. Let's go ahead and kick this off. I've got the questions called up. I've got screenshots from the Linchpin Squad and the BTWB app. We're good to go. And so, I think if I move at a decent pace, I'll actually be able to get through all these questions, and there's some good ones. So here we go. All right. First question, and I'm just going to go in, not necessarily upvote order, but just chronological in the way that they were posted, because again, I think if I move at a decent pace, I can get through all of them. So let's do this. First question from Arena F. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day? 2. Question from Dave D. Okay, he says, a question from last night's Around the Whiteboard from Coffee Pods and Wads. The question was, is community the biggest draw for CrossFit attracting new members? I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the question and what you would think is the best way to attract new members to CrossFit. CrossFit has been pushing the message of community. That's what makes it different from everything else. For me, it starts with the methodology, constantly varied functional movements, high intensity, broad time modal domains. From there, the communal suffering that we all do together. The workouts attracted me to Linchpin, and the Facebook group has kept me in. Community didn't make me start CrossFit, but community has made me stay and want to tell everyone else about it. Interesting question. Okay, so I guess the question is the message or marketing the CrossFit's doing is community, community, community. That's what it's all about. That's what gets new members in the door. That's what brings people to CrossFit. What do I personally think? I didn't start, me personally, each person's different. I didn't start CrossFit because of the community. And I actually agree with you, Dave, that what brought me personally to CrossFit is I'd heard that it worked. That's it. I'm looking for something that actually works. I'm not looking to waste my darn time. I don't have time to waste. And then once you get in there and you're like, oh, I enjoy the people that I'm getting to know, that's cool. But for me, and even these days, I guess it just depends upon the person, right? If I was searching out new friends, then yes, community would be whatever, it would be a big attraction. The community is great, but what brings me to any particular thing, in my mind anyway, is the efficacy of whatever that is. Does it work? If I was looking to learn Spanish and you're like, man, you should try this Spanish club, community, business, tutoring, whatever it is down the street. The community is amazing. The people are fantastic. Oh, really? Like, did you get really good at learning Spanish? No, the teachers suck. And, the course is totally haphazard and random. And you're not really going to learn any Spanish, to be honest with you. But, man, the people, the community are great. I wouldn't have any attraction to that. Like, I went for a purpose to learn Spanish. And then hopefully there, I'm like, oh, I really enjoy the people in my class as well. Made some new friends. That's great. So for me, if I have a precious hour of my day, I don't want to dilly-dally. I don't want to mess around. I want to get the most bang for my buck. I'm looking for results. And that's what drew me to CrossFit. And so even now, if CrossFit had the best community in the world and it didn't really work, it wouldn't have any attraction to me. I would leave and go somewhere else. So for me, the efficacy of the program, nothing is more important than that. And for me personally, it has to do what it says it will do. And then you get there and you meet all these wonderful people and you make these great connections, and that helps you stay. So that would be my 2 cents on that. Joshua G. Top 5 must-read books. Ooh, I don't know if I could say these are my top 5, right? Like top 5 best ever, but they're just 5 good ones that I particularly enjoyed. I enjoyed that book, Educated. That pops into my mind. I can't remember who it's by, but it was a good book. It kept my attention the entire time. The Boys in the Boat, I really enjoyed as well. Empire of the Summer Moon was fantastic. I couldn't put that down the entire time. As I've said before, Basic Economics from Thomas Sowell. I think Thomas Sowell's a national treasure. That book's fantastic. And then what's that one? Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. It was a very powerful book as well. I think those would be good ones to start. I'm also a real estate nerd. So anything that I can find on real estate, I enjoy reading. Okay. Corey, how do you and Emily Sherwood feel about mid-workout encouragement while working out at home? I don't miss going to a gym, but it would be nice to hear someone say, looking strong, or one more, or something like that every once in a while in the depths of a workout. Me personally, I don't like that. I don't know what it is about how I'm wired. If Emily was to shout, one more, you got it, or something during the workout personally, under my breath I'd be like, I don't want to hear that. But that's me personally. I could be a weirdo. I think most people, like you're saying, enjoy somebody shouting, one more, you got this, looking strong, or whatever it happens to be. So I think Emily knows that about me. So we just go in, we do our workouts. And I might say something out loud like, oh man, like this is rugged, or oh, I went too fast in that 400 or whatnot. But that's about it. I think she likes to do her thing as well. Oh, I see somebody post here. Hi from Brazil. I did that 400 meter 20 burpees, 400 meter 19 burpees, etc. That's Linchpin test 13. Did that yesterday. Crazy. Well done. Good job knocking that out. That thing's no joke. Let's see. From Jeremy D. Do you have any New Year's resolutions or general areas you're focusing on in 2024? Life, fitness, personal development, etc. Nothing specifically, just because the calendar changed. That's probably the best way that I could say it, Jeremy. The things that I'm working on because they make sense to work on, whether it's January 1st or it's November 10th or it's June 8th, It's just things that make sense, So trying to eat clean and eat well, so I have a long, healthy, happy life. Doesn't matter if it's the new year. Getting into the gym to work out doesn't matter if it's the new year. Trying to be present and engaged with my family and not like have my head spinning off into work when it's time to be with my family. Those are just ubiquitous all the time. Things like that, trying to read books or consume content or media that get me thinking and being a bit introspective, and then trying to identify areas that I could improve in my life. Those are just that's the content that I enjoy consuming, and that is doesn't matter that it's the new year. So I don't think there's anything that I would say are New Year's resolutions. They're just things that I'm going to just keep chugging along on. Okay, here we go. This one is from Joey C. Let's see. Hope that you and your family are well. Thank you, Joey. Right back at you. First, so your programming is really amazing. Thank you so much. I've been going to a CrossFit gym for 2 years he mentions some other programming, which, I won't say because, I never throw anybody under the bus or whatnot. Anyway, starting Linchpin, my lifts have increased significantly. I've got 2 questions. First question. As someone who follows Linchpin closely in a general gym setting, a YMCA, I can't drop a barbell from overhead or really at all. Double-edged sword. I don't aggressively max because it's not a good environment to fail, but I'm wondering if lowering the bar all the time, helps in any way. Let's see. So, if you've got to lower the bar as well, I mean, you're doing some extra work there for sure, if you can't just lower something, but it's also a double-edged sword because, like you said, you're probably now lowering a loading that is kind of sub-maximal, right? So you're probably never going to, in a YMCA setting, split jerk your true 1 rep max if you know that you have to lower it back down and reset it to the floor. Lowering it back down, resetting it to the floor, if it's a loading that you can do, that's fantastic. You got more time and attention, great things. But then the trade-off is, if you have the ability to drop it from overhead, you probably would have locked out more weight overhead. So I'd say it's kind of a give and take there. Second question. It's tough for me to switch between pieces of equipment at a busy YMCA. So generally, I claim a squat rack with a pull-up bar plus ancillary equipment. Fantastic word. End result, I do burpees for most programmed cardio within a Metcon because I can't leave the rack and go to a rower. Let's see, is there, burpee conversion, etc., etc. I've been making my own estimate of the burpees, but I would like some guidance. So for general, everybody's got a bit of it, first of all, I would, as a general rule, use the time domain. First of all, God bless you for doing burpees every time that comes up. Holy cow. I mean, that is less than ideal, but you do what you got to do with the hand that you're dealt. I mean, you could also do jumping jacks. You could run in place. Don't underestimate running in place. So you don't even have to do high knees. Like, you don't have to get your knees to your waist sort of an area, because if you watch somebody jog down the road doing 400s in Helen or whatnot, nobody's getting their knees up to their waist area. So if you just jog in place, and if you need to raise your knees a bit higher than you normally would in a run because you feel like you need a little bit of extra spice, if you just did that for the same time domain that a 400-meter run or an 800-meter run or whatever would take you, you would not be shortchanged. So don't underestimate jogging in place or running in place or high knees. Then the other part was, you could also do some single unders, you could do jumping jacks, and then if you're doing burpees or whatnot, when people do like a 400-meter run in a mixed modality workout like Nancy or something, they're not setting a high intensity 400-meter pace, right? Because they've got 5 rounds of running to do, 75 overhead squats to do, so it's a moderate pace at best. And so if you're going, and let's just say it takes 2 minutes to do those 400-meter runs, you need to replicate it here in your squat rack at the YMCA. So if you're going to do burpees, I would do burpees for ballpark 2 minutes, and I would do them at a moderate pace, not a blitz max effort 2 minutes of burpees pace, because that's not how somebody would be running a 400-meter in that sort of a workout. So I would go by the time domain, and I would go by the intensity of the effort, and that would give you a really good metric to use right there. Okay, let's see. Let me close a couple things here. Okay. From Michael F. I'm a week-old member and have a question. Welcome aboard, my friend. To make it short, can I change/move the days when I do certain workouts, or does that interfere with the long-term planning of the programming or the thought behind it? I'm fortunate enough to have 2 places where I can do my workouts. One's at a Globo gym at work. When I go there, I'm at the office, and my home gym the other time. As it is, the Globo gym doesn't allow me to do certain movements such as wall balls, rope climbs, heavy barbell work, etc. due to lack of equipment space and no dropping. We just had the previous question as well. So when I look at the upcoming workouts, I feel that I have to move them around a bit to do what I can. Is this okay? What's the thought process? So 2 parts to this question. In an ideal world, you wouldn't have to switch the days around, because the short answer is they are 100% laid out in an intentional and deliberate order. Okay, so ideal world, you don't move them around. However, we happen to live in the real world, not the ideal world. And so if you have to move them around because you don't have a choice, well then absolutely move them around. But to answer your question, yes, they're laid out in a specific order. And what would be ideal is, depending upon the flexibility you have when you move them around, to look at them and look at things like gross movement patterns. Look at things like loadings, things of that nature. And, for example, where are the below parallel days? Where are the pull from the ground days? Where are the going overhead days? Where is the heavy day? Where are the pull-ups, etc., etc.? Because what you wouldn't want to do is you just somehow always line them up. So let's say that we're going to go below parallel twice in a particular week, and there's going to be 2 days between those sessions so that we don't just hammer the same gross movement pattern over and over again. And we set the athlete up for success the next time the going below parallel comes up. Well, if without realizing it, you move the days around and now those days are back to back, that's less than ideal. Or the 2 pull from the ground days are back to back, that's less than ideal. Or there was ring muscle ups on one day and Tabata pull-ups on another day, and you had to put them back to back, and now you're doing these upper body pulls back to, again, it's just not ideal. Love to have this work a certain loading, work a certain rep range, work a certain gross movement pattern, adequate rest, then you hit it again. And so that's why how the workouts are laid out absolutely is intentional and specific. So if you have to move them, hey, that's just what you got to do. But ideally, look at them with an eye for that, and to the best of your ability, modify them in a way that if you can, the placement of the days where you still get a little bit of a breather between similarities. Okay, let's see. Josh B. Do you have a rule of thumb for how many unbroken reps you expect someone to do at various percentages of max? For example, the recent 6 rounds of runs, the 9 shoulder press at 50%, weighted pull-ups and box jumps. What did you anticipate most people would be able to maintain to 50%, et cetera, et cetera? I personally find that my 10 rep is way closer to my 1 rep and than the standard charts. So everybody can be a little bit different. The fact that your 10 rep is very close to your 1 rep is unusual. That's unusual. Most people with their 10 rep would be significantly different than their 1 rep. But for something like that workout that you said, the percentage charts are interesting because a lot of the classic percentage charts that were based on either Olympic lifting or powerlifting, well, that's what they were based on. They weren't necessarily based on mixed modality athletes who weren't just powerlifters or just Olympic lifters, but were focused on GPP, general physical preparedness, and doing all of these things in a mixed modality sort of session. And I have noticed over the years how CrossFitters, here's the way I can oversimplify this. Compared to most of those classic historical charts, most CrossFitters are able to they've got decent stamina, great strength, but also really good stamina, that they are able to do slightly more work at a certain percentage than the charts would lead you to believe. So if a certain chart would be, hey, it's 70%, it's going to be 3 to 5 reps for this many sets. And if you're putting that in a mixed modality workout as a push jerk or something like that, then a lot of CrossFitters will be able to do that just fine. They've got really good muscular stamina, and so they're actually a bit more capable of that. But it depends upon the lift and depends upon what you're interfering with it or not interfering with it. But for like that workout that you mentioned right there, the initial 9 shoulder presses at 50%, undoubtedly in round 1, the goal would be that athlete would do them unbroken, if not in round 2 as well. Now the caveat to that is now as the rest of the work compounds, what in a standalone isolated vacuum of an environment would not be that big of a deal. If the workout just happened to be, you're going to do 6 sets of 9 shoulder press at 50% of your 1 rep max. It's a heavy day, it's a strength day, there's nothing else involved, you're going to rest 2 minutes between each. There's a good chance that those sets would go really well and you might be able to knock them all out unbroken. Later ones being difficult. Now in a mixed modality workout where you're running, you're doing pull-ups, you're doing box jumps, there's just a general fatigue that's going to set in where even if that would occur in a standalone strength day, I don't necessarily expect that to be maintained the entire time through a mixed modality workout. And one of the things which could play a huge role in whether you were able to do those shoulder presses unbroken for 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 5 rounds, or never after the first round, is how did you approach those 400-meter runs? Were they a nice jog, bit of a recovery, active recovery, so you could go back in, do your pull-ups, do your box jumps, and do your strict press? Or did you push the pace pretty hard on those runs? If you did, then you're coming in from the run, not being able to catch your breath, grabbing a barbell. Now that 50% for 9 reps feels wildly different than had you jogged the 400-meter run. So a lot of those things kind of interplay there. But when that one was laid out, it was going to be a loading that was never going to be scary. It was always going to be something that the athlete could pick up and feel very confident getting those 9 reps or darn close to those 9 reps again, based upon how they exerted themselves in the other parts of the workout. Mark, do you reset the rower or air bike before every set? For example, even for a death by workout like today. It feels to me like not resetting would be cheating, but when I finish a set within 2 seconds of the deadline, it gets hard. My short answer, yes. I reset the rower or the bike every single solitary time. I personally don't allow myself any rollover calories. I'm not a beast on the bike or the rower, but that's how I do it. Let's see. Josh B. 2 questions about ring muscle-ups for those of us that don't have high rings. Which is a better substitute, bar muscle-ups or low ring muscle-ups? And second question, what is the difference in the stimulus between bar and rings? How do you decide which to program in a given workout? So deciding how to, well, I can tackle the how to decide which to program in a given workout. It depends on a couple of things, such as what are the other upper body pulls that have occurred? Which of those 2 movements has come up more frequently? Have we done, bar muscle-ups or ring muscle-ups? If so, the other one might need to go ahead and make an appearance, or there could just be, an analysis occurs to see which has peeked its head up and which hasn't. And it also might have to do with the workout itself, what else is going on in that workout. Excuse me. And it might lend itself better to bar muscle-ups or ring muscle-ups. Generally speaking, I'm going to say that the ring muscle-up is a more demanding and strenuous movement than the bar muscle-up, specifically because I believe the fancy term for the rings is that they're in a frictionless plane. And the bar obviously is this solid object wed to the wall of the squat rack, which is wonderful. With like every ounce of force that you impart to that bar, you get to have it back, whereas that's not the case with the rings that are swinging all around. Which is a better substitute, you say? Bar muscle-ups or low ring muscle-ups, since you don't have a place for high rings? Well, the short answer is as unsatisfying as it is. Do both. Don't just do one. But I will say that the low ring muscle-up makes fire-breathing dragons out of people, without question. Because you're going to get plenty of kipping in with everything else that we do, right? You're going to be doing kipping pull-ups, kipping chest-to-bar pull-ups. There's hip drive, and there's, power cleans. You're developing hip drive. They're like hip drive and kip, like you're going to get that. The low ring muscle-up, and you can find what the low ring muscle-up is if you go to CrossFitLinchpin.com, and then we have one of our YouTube channel, sorry, not .com, our YouTube channel, and then one of the playlists says something like instructional videos or something like that. There's 2 videos on low ring muscle-ups. And low ring muscle-ups are just, you get your feet on the ground, your butt's just about on the ground, you're under the rings, arms are extended, and you're using just as much leg assist as needed to get yourself up to the rings. You can have your feet in a box. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do them. But they're infinitely scalable because you can use as much or as little leg as you need. And little by little, you use less leg and more upper body, less leg and more upper body. And I've seen so many people who have the discipline and patience to stick with it, because eventually what that leads to is you develop the ability to do a seated, from the ground, L-sit, strict ring muscle-up. If you develop the ability to do that, and you're developing plenty of kipping power with everything else that we're doing, I don't think you're going to have an issue with bar muscle-ups. And then when you find yourself in a set of high rings, you'll have everything you need to get up there. So the low ring muscle-ups, I think they're fantastic. But do both. Do bar muscle-ups as well for sure, but I think the low ring muscle-ups are just gold. Stephen G. Is this the last one? Stephen G. Walking lunge distance to lunge in place conversion. I've done half the distance, length to reps past. Okay, so basically the question is, let's say that a workout calls for 50 meters of walking lunges. You're trapped in an apartment in New York City, in Amsterdam, wherever it happens to be, Medellin, Colombia. And you've got to do just in-place lunges, how many should you do? Because the workout calls for a few rounds of 50 meters per. I think the easiest thing to do for this is just get yourself a tape measure, put the tape measure on the ground, and just do one lunge. And just see how long is one lunge for you. And then you can just reverse engineer it, keep it on your phone, and you'll forever have this little metric of 50 meters of walking lunges is this many steps for me. And then you can do the math. 10 meters is this, 100 meters is this. So for example, when I saw this question today, I broke out a tape measure, put it on the floor, and I just did one lunge step. And one lunge step for me was about 3.5 feet. Okay? So between 3 feet and 4 feet. Personally, I would just call it 3 feet, because you know what? As I get tired, the lunge step might contract a little bit, or you know what? Just calling it a little bit on the short side, I might do a couple of extra lunges. Oh well, all good, I'll get some extra work in. And then I would just go, I'm on my computer right now, and I'm going to type in, let's say meters to feet, boom. And I'm going to type in 50 meters equals 164 feet. Well, 164.042 to be exact. Okay, so I've got 50 meters of walking lunges to do. This little thing says that that's 164 feet. I just identified that one lunge for me is 3 feet. And so now where's my handy dandy calculator here in this computer? Calculator, yes, go there, calculator. And I would just simply go 164, right? Because that's how many feet there are in 50 meters. And I know that one of my lunges is 3 feet divided by 3 feet. That means for me, I would do 54.6 lunges, in-place lunges, for 50 meters of walking lunges. It's really close to a 1-for-1, right? 50 meters of lunges, and I would call that 54.6. I'd round it to 55. So 50 meters of lunges, of walking lunges, I would probably lunge 55 steps. So for me personally, I could do 55 if I wanted to be like really precise, in-place lunges, or I could just in my head say it's really darn close to a 1-for-1 and fitness will be achieved. So that's personally what I would do. I would just lay it, all you need is 5 feet. You don't need a huge amount of space. Lay a tape measure out, see how long one lunge for you is, 2 minutes of reverse engineering, and you'll know where you are, and then you can just, keep a little note in your phone that says, every 50 meters of lunging for me is 55 steps, it's 58 steps, 52 steps, whatever it is, and then you'll know, and you'll be totally good to go. But I bet a lot of people are close to a 1-for-1, or a 1-for-1 would be so close that, again, fitness would be achieved and you wouldn't be shortchanged in any way, shape, or form. Okay, that is it. Ask me anything. Great stuff. Let me see if I missed anything. Okay, quick little scroll of the old comments here. High fives, fist bumps, right back at you. Hello from everybody. Okay. All right. Well, have a great day. It's a rest day, favorite day of the week, and we'll talk later.